Rahmanir Rahim. A magnificent saying of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Innamal a'malu bin niyat, actions depend upon intentions. William Shakespeare, the bard of Avon, has an astounding, staggering tragedy, Hamlet, where a young prince of Denmark has his father murdered by his own uncle Claudius. Whether to avenge the death of his father, whether to kill his uncle or not, he was perplexed. To be or not to be, that was the question. This young prince was imprisoned in the slaughterhouse of his father, and at once to his buddies in a confined frame of mind he said, "For there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. To me it is a prison." Honorable Director, respected Chief Guest, Mr. President, and my colleagues, today I sense confounded to unravel the profound truth embedded in these words, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Mr. President, in this grand theater of life, we are often quick at labeling things as either good or bad, but what if I tell you that the power rests not in the object itself, but in the lens through which we are viewing it? Having a glance at Palestinians, Israeli fight Palestine with huge artillery, but when they respond with a single stone, they call it terrorism, they call it miserable. But Muslim Ummah appreciate a much bigger response. People of Burma burning in fire at the hands of those bloody cruels are being appreciated by those savage infidels. We call it bad. Kashmir is there, the victim of those ruthless, pitiless Indians. They call it favorable, we call it wrong. If some admire any political leader for the services he conferred to the nation, so some consider him an evil for his loss to the nation. Mr. President, every situation's gonna be fine if you play the game of perception wisely. Allah mentions in the Holy Quran, وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا. Whoever foretold what is in the heavens and the earth, of a Lord, you did not create anything aimlessly. Respected Director, turning the pages of history, I come across several events. We have the truce of Hudaybiyah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam authorized whoever fled from Quraysh to Muslims would be allowed to send back, but whoever fled from Muslim to Quraysh would never be allowed to send back. Some Sahaba criticized the condition, but how could be the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wrong? If we judge it optimistically, that truce was a very smart work. Another one, Islamic ruling compels the leader to cut off the hands of the one who steals, but Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu, the just leader of his time, rejected to do so when famine broke into his empire. Some would exclaim the situation as substandard, but that decision was absolutely exceptional, Mr. President. Once again, everything is fine, it's only the game of perception. All over the Holy Quran, Allah keeps telling people to think logically. أَفَلَا يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Will you not think? All these major disputes in the world can be resolved very easily by a logical and optimistic approach. Respected Chief Guest, thinking is not just a word futile. Instead, Khudi of Iqbal, philosophies of Aristotle, concepts of Ghani Khan, the concepts of Ghani Khan, enlightenment of Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, oration of Dr. Zakir Naik, oration of Dr. Israr Ahmad, spiritual confessions of Maulana Wahiduddin, and the most influential figure, his advice and Rutet explicitly focus, explicitly emphasize on human thinking to make it logical, to make it optimistic, to have a look at this broader, at this very nice looking life. Respected Director, modern researches in the Western countries show that most people get depressed not because of big negative life events, but pessimistic judgment of daily life events, like, oh, I'm stuck in the traffic, oh, rip in my jean, broken dishwashers, and many more. Of course, one can argue that bad things really do happen. Death of a loved one, war, famine, losses due to earthquake, and many more. But Shakespeare is speaking more about day-to-day events. And our judgment of these events is either good or bad, pull our emotions in the respective direction. My dear colleagues, I want to conclude my declamation with a subtle chunk of advice. Each experience presents an infinite number of interpretations, and it's our interpretation of that event that pull our emotion either negative or positive. So my dear colleagues, if we refrain ourselves from making negative judgment and pessimistic response, we can liberate ourselves from a lot of unnecessary sufferings. Thank you very much.